Amelia was radiant that night. The anniversary dinner, celebrating 10 years with Michael, promised to be unforgettable. They chose an elegant restaurant in downtown Boston, with a stunning view of the city skyline. The ambience was perfect: soft lights, background music, and a delicious aroma in the air. As they sat down, Amelia couldn't hide her happiness. Looking at Michael, she felt that all the battles and challenges they faced together over the decade were worth it. "You look beautiful, Amelia," Michael said, smiling at her. His eyes sparkled with a mix of affection and something else she couldn't decipher. "Thank you, my love," she replied, holding his hand across the table. "I'm so happy we're here, celebrating our life together." The night promised to be perfect, full of love and renewed vows. As they talked, Amelia couldn't help but notice a tension in Michael's behavior. He was restless, picking at his food distractedly, avoiding prolonged eye contact. She tried to ignore it, attributing it to the work pressure he always mentioned. "Michael, is everything okay? You seem distant," she asked with concern in her voice. He took a deep breath, as if gathering courage for something. When the main course arrived, Michael seemed even more nervous. He played with his fork, avoiding her eyes. Finally, he put the utensils aside and held Amelia's hand tightly, as if for the last time. "Amelia, we need to talk," he said, his voice laden with seriousness. Her heart started to beat faster, a chill down her spine signaling that something terrible was coming. "I don't know how to say this, but I want a divorce." Amelia's expression froze. Her heart seemed to stop. Michael's words echoed in her mind, but she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "What do you mean, Michael? What's going on?" Michael's eyes were cold and distant. "I met someone," he continued without emotion. "I'm involved with my assistant, and she's pregnant." Amelia felt the ground open beneath her feet. A wave of pain and nausea hit her hard. Tears welled up instantly, streaming down her face. "You can't be serious." She could barely speak, her voice trembling with pain and disbelief. Michael looked away, unable to face the destruction he was causing. "I'm sorry, Amelia. I didn't want it to be like this." Amelia's world collapsed in that instant. The pain was overwhelming, a crushing weight on her chest. She stood up abruptly, knocking over the chair. The stares of the other restaurant patrons didn't matter. She needed to get out of there, needed to breathe. With tears blinding her vision, Amelia ran out of the restaurant. Each step felt like a monumental effort. The cold Boston night enveloped her, but the pain she felt was unbearable. She sat on the nearest bench, her body shaking with sobs. What was supposed to be a celebration turned into an unimaginable nightmare. The love of her life, the man she trusted, had destroyed her world. Amelia sat alone on the bench, feeling lost. The tears continued to stream down her face as Michael's words echoed in her mind. "I want a divorce, and she's pregnant." Every time she thought about it, it was as if a knife was being driven into her heart again. Her phone began to vibrate. It was a message from Michael. "We need to talk at home." Amelia froze. The idea of returning to the house they shared for so many years seemed impossible, but she knew she had to face reality. She gathered all her strength, wiped her tears, and took a taxi home. Entering the house, she was greeted by a heavy silence. The memories of the happy moments shared there suffocated her. Michael was in the living room, visibly uncomfortable. "Amelia, I'm sorry," he began, but she interrupted him. "How could you do this, Michael? How could you betray me like this?" Her voice trembled with pain and indignation. 10 years together, and you throw it all away for an assistant?" Michael sighed, running his hands over his face. "I didn't want it to be like this. But it happened. And now she's pregnant. I need to take responsibility." "Responsibility?" Amelia exploded. "What about the responsibility to our marriage? To me? We promised to be together in joy and sorrow, remember?" The pain in her voice was almost palpable, filling the room with suffocating sadness. Michael remained silent, unable to respond. Amelia felt her anger grow, fueled by betrayal and contempt. "You ruined everything, Michael. Everything." She climbed the stairs, each step heavier than the last. Entering the bedroom, she saw her reflection in the mirror. Her face was stained with tears, her eyes red and swollen. The woman she saw seemed like a stranger, someone broken by pain. Amelia threw herself on the bed, hugging the pillow. Memories flooded her mind. The wedding day, the laughter, the intimate moments. Now all that seemed like a cruel lie. She sobbed loudly, the pain so intense she could barely breathe. The feeling of betrayal was like a poison slowly spreading through her body. Hours passed, but the pain didn't subside. Amelia decided she needed to leave the house, needed air. She took the car and drove aimlessly, tears still falling. She stopped at a park where they used to walk on weekends. She sat on a bench and looked at the lake, the calm waters contrasting with the turmoil inside her. She wondered how to rebuild her life from the broken pieces. Each breath was a monumental effort, but Amelia knew she couldn't completely surrender to despair. There was still a part of her that wanted to fight, that wanted justice. The phone vibrated again, but this time it was a message from her best friend, Claire. "I just heard. I'm on my way." Amelia felt a flicker of relief. Claire had always been her pillar, the friend who supported her unconditionally. She knew she would need all the strength and support to face what was coming. While waiting, Amelia tried to imagine the future. A future without Michael. A future where she would have to rebuild everything alone. The idea was scary, but at the same time, she felt a spark of determination grow. Michael had betrayed her in an unforgivable way, and she wouldn't let it go unpunished. When Claire arrived, she hugged Amelia tightly without saying a word. Just that hug, full of understanding and solidarity, gave Amelia the strength she needed to move forward. She knew the journey would be painful, that she would face immense challenges, but with Claire by her side, she felt a little stronger. Amelia returned home with Claire by her side. Her friend's presence was a balm, but the pain and anger still bubbled inside her like a storm ready to explode. Entering that house again was a challenge. Every corner, every object seemed to whisper Michael's betrayal. "Amelia, you don't have to go through this alone," Claire said, holding her hand firmly. "I'm here for whatever you need." "Thank you, Claire," Amelia replied, her voice still trembling. "I just need answers. I need to understand how this happened." Amelia decided she couldn't simply accept the betrayal without fighting back. The first thing she did was enter Michael's office. Every drawer, every document could contain clues about the betrayal and what else he was hiding. Claire helped, and together they began to search everything. That's when she found an envelope hidden at the bottom of a locked drawer. Amelia's hands trembled as she opened it, revealing photos of Michael with the assistant. They were in various intimate situations, clearly happy. The sight of the images broke her heart even more, but she knew she had to keep going. Inside the envelope were also bank statements and receipts for transactions she didn't recognize. "Claire, look at this," Amelia said, showing her the documents. "He's spending money on her. Money that should be ours." Claire frowned, analyzing the papers. "This is not just betrayal, Amelia. He's hiding something much bigger." Amelia's determination grew. She knew she needed professional help to uncover the whole truth. The next morning, she sought out a private investigator. James was an experienced man with an impeccable reputation. He listened to Amelia's story attentively, compassion in his clear eyes. "I'll find out everything Michael is hiding," James promised. "But you need to be prepared for what you might find." "I have no other choice," Amelia replied, her voice firm. "I need to know everything." The following days were torture. Waiting for answers seemed like an eternity. Amelia tried to keep her mind occupied, but the pain and anxiety were constant. Every time she thought of Michael and the assistant, a mix of sadness and anger invaded her. One night, while trying to sleep, her phone rang. It was James. "Amelia, I need you to see something," he said, his voice grave. "Can you meet me at my office tomorrow morning?" That night was endless. Amelia barely slept, the possibilities and fears invading her mind. When the sun finally rose, she hurried to James's office, her heart heavy with anticipation. James was waiting with a serious expression. "We discovered more than we expected," he said, pushing a folder towards Amelia. Michael is not only cheating on you but is also involved in illegal activities. Money laundering, tax evasion. It's much worse than we thought. Amelia felt a wave of nausea. She opened the folder and saw the evidence. Suspicious bank transfers, hidden properties, all confirming the extent of Michael's betrayal and dishonesty. Tears filled her eyes, but now they were not just of sadness. They were of fury and determination. "Thank you, James," Amelia said, closing the folder. "Now I have what I need." She returned home, her heart racing with a new purpose. Michael had not only destroyed their marriage, but was also involved in crimes that could destroy their lives even more. Amelia knew she had to act, but she had to be meticulous. The next step would be to confront Michael with all the evidence she had. Amelia arrived home with the folder of evidence in her hands, her heart pounding with anger and determination. Claire was waiting for her, sitting in the living room with a worried expression. "What did you find out?" Claire asked, quickly standing up. Amelia handed her the folder, watching as Claire flipped through the documents. The shock and indignation in her friend's eyes mirrored exactly what Amelia felt. "This is unbelievable," Claire murmured, her voice faltering. "He did all this while pretending to be the perfect husband." Amelia nodded, tears filling her eyes. "I know, but now I have what I need to bring him down." That night, Amelia couldn't sleep. She spent hours looking at the photos, the bank statements, the irrefutable evidence of Michael's betrayal and crimes. Each new discovery was a stab in her heart, but it also fueled her determination. She needed a plan. The next morning, Amelia decided she needed to confront Michael, but in a way he wouldn't expect. It was a Saturday and he would be home. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but there was no more room for hesitation. When Michael walked through the front door, he found Amelia waiting for him in the living room. Her expression was cold and determined. He frowned, clearly uncomfortable. "Amelia, what is this?" he asked, looking at the folder she was holding. She stood up, approaching him. "We need to talk, Michael. And this time you're going to listen." Michael tried to argue, but Amelia raised her hand, silencing him. She opened the folder and started taking out the documents, one by one, throwing them on the table between them. "These are the proofs of your betrayal. The photos, the bank statements, the money transfers. You were spending on her while pretending to be the perfect husband to me." Michael's expression changed from discomfort to panic. "Amelia, I can explain." "No, Michael. You can't explain anything," she interrupted, her voice full of pain and fury. "And this," she continued, throwing more documents on the table, "is proof of your crimes. Money laundering, tax evasion. You not only betrayed me but also committed crimes that can destroy our lives." Michael turned pale, unable to speak. Amelia felt a small satisfaction seeing him like this, but the pain was still there, deep and constant. "I loved you, Michael. I gave everything to this marriage. And you destroyed everything. Amelia, please. I made mistakes, but we can fix this together," he pleaded, his voice full of despair. "No, Michael. You made your choice. Now it's my turn to make mine," she said, her voice firm. "I'm taking this to court. I'll make sure you pay for everything you did. And I'll rebuild my life without you." She turned around, leaving Michael there, stunned and desperate. Each step away from him was a step towards her own freedom. The pain was still there, but Amelia's determination grew with each moment. She knew the journey would be long and difficult, but she was ready to face it all. Every day, Amelia worked to gather more evidence, prepare her case, and strengthen her resolve. Amelia sat in her living room, staring at the documents spread out before her. Anger and pain were her constant companions, but now there was a new feeling growing inside her: determination. Determination to make Michael pay for everything. Claire, always by her side, helped organize the evidence when Amelia's phone rang. It was James, the private investigator. "Amelia, I have news," he said, his voice grave. "Can you come to my office this afternoon?" Amelia felt a tightening in her chest. "I'll be there in an hour." She and Claire headed to James's office, anxiety growing with each mile. When they arrived, They were greeted with a somber expression on James's face. He closed the office door and asked them to sit down. "Amelia, the situation is even worse than we imagined," James began, handing her a new folder. "Michael is not only cheating on you and committing financial crimes. He's involved with dangerous people, large-scale money laundering, and even illegal financing." Amelia opened the folder, her hands trembling. The evidence was clear: bank transfers, records of secret meetings, compromising messages. Each document was like a blow to her heart, but she knew she had to be strong. "How could he do this?" Amelia whispered, her voice laden with pain. "He's playing a dangerous game," James replied. "And this puts you at risk too. But with this evidence, we can ensure he pays for everything." Amelia felt a mix of fear and anger. "I won't let this go unpunished. But how do we proceed?" James looked at her seriously. "We'll build a solid case. I'll continue investigating, and you need to prepare for the confrontation. This won't be easy, Amelia. He'll fight with all his might." Claire held Amelia's hand. "We're in this together. We'll get justice." The following days were a blur of meetings, legal consultations, and moments of intense preparation. Amelia felt exhausted, but she couldn't afford to weaken. Every time she thought of Michael, of everything he had done, a new wave of determination propelled her forward. One night, while reviewing documents again, Amelia found a text message on Michael's phone that he had forgotten to delete. It was from the assistant, the woman who had destroyed her marriage. The words were cold and calculating, discussing how they would deal with the Amelia situation. "I won't let you win," Amelia murmured to herself, her heart full of pain and anger. She knew she needed to face Michael one more time, face to face, before everything went to court. She decided to confront him at his office, where he wouldn't be able to escape. The next morning, dressed in her best outfit, Amelia headed to Michael's office. Every step was an effort, but she remained firm. When she entered, the curious glances of his colleagues followed her, but she didn't care. She went straight to Michael's office and entered without knocking. Michael was on the phone, but seeing her, he turned pale. "Amelia, what are you doing here?" "We need to talk, Michael," she said, closing the door behind her. "And this time you will listen." He hung up the phone, visibly tense. "Amelia, I've already said everything I had to say." "No, you haven't," she replied, her voice full of restrained anger. "You lied, cheated, and now you're involved in criminal activities. I have proof, Michael, and I will use it." Michael tried to compose himself, but the mask of confidence was beginning to crack. "You can't prove anything. This will end badly for you." "I have nothing left to lose," Amelia said, approaching him. "But you do, and I'll make sure you lose everything." She threw the photos and documents on his desk. Michael looked at the papers, the color draining from his face. "This can't be happening." "It's happening," Amelia said, her voice firm despite the pain. "And you'll pay for everything, Michael. Every lie, every betrayal. I will get justice." She turned and left the office, leaving Michael in shock. The battle was just beginning, and Amelia knew it would be arduous. But every step brought her closer to the justice and revenge she so desperately sought. She felt the pain, the fear, and the anger in every fiber of her being, but also a new and unbreakable strength. Amelia knew the road would be long, but she was determined to move forward, facing each challenge with courage and resilience. She was no longer alone, and with Claire and James by her side, she knew she could win. Amelia returned home with her heart still pounding. Confronting Michael had been harder than she had imagined, but she knew she needed to be strong. Claire was waiting in the living room, anxiety evident in her eyes. "How did it go?" Claire asked, standing up immediately. Amelia let out a heavy sigh. "He's in shock, but now he knows he can't escape. I confronted him with all the evidence." Claire hugged Amelia, trying to transmit strength through the contact. "You were amazing. Now we need to prepare for the next step." Amelia nodded, but emotional exhaustion was beginning to take over. "I just need a moment to breathe," she whispered. In the following days, Amelia and Claire worked tirelessly, organizing all the evidence and preparing the documentation for court. James continued to investigate, uncovering more layers of Michael's illicit activities. Each new discovery was a knife in Amelia's heart, but it also reinforced her determination. One afternoon, while reviewing the documents, Amelia's phone rang. It was James again. "Amelia, I have something you need to see. Can you come to my office?" Feeling a mix of curiosity and apprehension, Amelia went immediately. When she arrived, James greeted her with a serious expression. He placed a new pile of documents on the table. "These are records of recent transactions," James explained. "Michael is transferring large sums of money to offshore accounts. It looks like he's trying to flee." Amelia's blood ran cold. "He's going to try to escape justice." "Not if he has nowhere to run," James said. "We need to act fast. If we can freeze his accounts and monitor his movements, we can stop him." Amelia nodded, feeling adrenaline course through her body. "Let's do it." With the help of her lawyer, Amelia initiated the process to freeze Michael's assets. Each legal step was a battle, but she was determined not to let him escape. The pain of betrayal still burned inside her, but now it was channeled into an unrelenting force. That night, Amelia met Claire at a nearby cafe. They needed a moment of normalcy, a moment to breathe and reflect on everything that was happening. "You're holding up well, Amelia," Claire said, holding her friend's hand. "But don't forget to take care of yourself." Amelia smiled, though her eyes still reflected the pain. "I know. It's just, all this is so overwhelming. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to break down." "You're stronger than you think," Claire replied, her voice full of conviction. "And we're in this together." Amelia took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of Claire's support. But even with her friend's support, the nights were lonely and painful. She lay in bed, reliving every moment of her life with Michael, trying to understand where it had all gone wrong. One night, while looking at old wedding photos, Amelia was overwhelmed by a wave of emotion. The tears came again, the pain of loss and betrayal so intense it seemed it would never go away. She hugged her pillow, sobbing until exhaustion made her fall asleep. The next morning, she received a call from James. "Amelia, we need to meet. Now." She arrived at James's office with her heart racing. He greeted her with a serious expression. "Michael is trying to sell the company. He's desperate to raise money and flee." Amelia felt a mix of anger and desperation. "He can't do that. I won't let him." James nodded. "We'll stop him. I've informed your lawyer. We're filing for a court order to block the sale." The confrontation was drawing closer, and Amelia felt the weight of every decision. But she couldn't give up now. Every move Michael made only strengthened her resolve to seek justice. Amelia felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, but her determination to seek justice gave her strength. When she received the invitation to the charity event that Michael organized every year, she knew it was the perfect opportunity to expose him publicly. It was the place where he always presented himself as the benevolent businessman dedicated to the community. On the night of the event, Amelia dressed elegantly. Her black dress exuded a silent strength, and her determined expression masked the storm of emotions inside her. Claire was by her side, a rock of support amidst the chaos. "Are you ready for this?" Claire asked, squeezing Amelia's hand. "I have to be," Amelia replied, with a firmness that belied her inner turmoil. The hotel ballroom was lit up, filled with guests laughing and chatting, unaware of the personal tragedy unfolding behind the scenes. Michael was at the center of attention, his false smile and rehearsed words charming everyone. Amelia watched from a distance, the pain and anger bubbling inside her. When it was time for the speeches, Amelia knew her moment had come. Michael was on stage, thanking the guests for their generosity and support. "This event is very important to me," he said, "because it shows how much we can do together for our community." Amelia approached the stage, her heart pounding. "Sorry to interrupt, Michael," she said, her firm voice echoing through the ballroom. All eyes turned to her. Silence fell over the room. Michael looked visibly uncomfortable. "Amelia, this is not the time." "Oh, but it is," she said, stepping onto the stage. "It's the perfect time for everyone to know who you really are." She opened the folder she had brought with her and began pulling out the documents, throwing them on the table next to Michael. "Here are the proofs of your betrayal. The photos with your mistress, the bank transfers, the records of illegal activities. You are not the man everyone here thinks you are." Murmurs of shock began to echo through the room. Michael tried to interrupt her, but Amelia didn't stop. "While you were pretending to be the perfect husband, you were cheating and stealing. And now everyone knows the truth." Michael tried to grab the papers, but Amelia held his arm, pain and anger shining in her eyes. "You destroyed our marriage, our life. And now you'll pay for it." She turned to the guests, many of whom were clearly shocked and uncomfortable. "I apologize to everyone for this, but the truth needed to be told." Amelia stepped down from the stage, feeling a mix of relief and exhaustion. Claire was there, ready to support her. "You were incredible," she said, hugging Amelia tightly. Michael remained on stage, stunned and humiliated. The event that was supposed to be his night of glory had turned into his worst nightmare. That night, as Amelia returned home with Claire, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The pain was still there, but publicly exposing Michael was an important step toward her own healing and justice. She knew the battle wasn't over yet, but for the first time in a long time, she felt she had some control over her life again. The next step would be facing Michael in court. Amelia knew it would be even more painful and exhausting, but she was ready. She was no longer just surviving, she was fighting. And with Claire and James by her side, she knew she could win this battle. The impact of the charity event reverberated for days afterward. Amelia became the center of attention, and news of Michael's betrayal and crime spread quickly through the local media. The public exposure devastated him, but the battle was just beginning. Michael, now a shadow of the confident man he used to be, was desperate to save what was left of his life. He tried to contact Amelia several times, but she was unwilling to hear more lies. One afternoon, while Amelia was reviewing documents with her lawyer, she received an unexpected visit. It was Michael, his face marked by desperation and fatigue. "Amelia, please just hear me out," he pleaded, standing at the door. She looked at him, the pain still fresh in her eyes. "You have nothing left to say, Michael. All you do is lie." "I know I messed up," he said, his voice breaking. "But we can fix this together. I still love you." Amelia felt a wave of anger. "Love? You don't know what love is. If you did, you wouldn't have destroyed our life. You wouldn't have betrayed the woman who was always by your side." Michael took a step forward, his hands trembling. "I was lost, Amelia. I did terrible things, I know, but we can find a way back." She shook her head, tears of anger and sadness streaming down her face. "There's no way back, Michael. You made your choices, and now you have to face the consequences." He tried to get closer, but Amelia stepped back. "Please leave," she said, her voice firm. "I can't do this anymore. Not after everything." Michael hesitated, but saw the determination in her eyes. He knew it was useless to insist. With a resigned sigh, he turned and left, leaving Amelia with a heavy heart, but also a sense of relief. As the day of the trial approached, Amelia felt the tension grow. The nights were long and lonely, the days filled with legal meetings and intense preparation. Claire and James were always there, offering unconditional support. On the eve of the trial, Amelia met Claire at the cafe they used to frequent. "Are you ready for this?" Claire asked, holding her hand. "I'm not sure if anyone can really be ready for something like this," Amelia replied, her voice trembling. "But I'm determined. I need to get justice, for me and for everything I've lost." Claire smiled, her eyes full of pride. "You're stronger than anyone imagines. And you're not alone." On the day of the trial, Amelia walked into the courtroom with her head held high. The atmosphere was intimidating, but she knew she couldn't falter. Michael was there, sitting next to his lawyer, his face pale and marked by tension. The trial began, and the lawyers presented their evidence and arguments. Amelia was called to testify, and every word she said was a blow to Michael. She told the story of betrayal, lies, and illegal activities. The pain of reliving all that was almost unbearable, but she remained firm. When it was Michael's turn to speak, he tried to justify his actions, but his words sounded empty. He tried to appeal to the court's empathy, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. Every argument was dismantled, every lie exposed. Amelia looked at him, feeling a mix of sadness and relief. The man she had loved so much was now a stranger. The memories of the good times were overshadowed by the pain of betrayal. The trial dragged on for days, each moment more tense than the last. Amelia felt the weight of every word, every revelation. But finally, the moment of decision came. The court gathered to deliberate, and the silence in the room was deafening. When the judge returned, Amelia's heart was racing. After considering all the evidence and testimonies, he began, "This court finds Michael guilty of the charges of betrayal, fraud, and money laundering." Amelia felt a wave of relief and emotion. Tears filled her eyes, but this time they were not just of pain. They were of justice, of a feeling that finally she could begin to heal. Michael was taken away in handcuffs, his expression defeated. Amelia watched, feeling a mix of sadness and satisfaction. The news of the verdict spread quickly. Michael, now convicted, was about to face the sentence for his crimes. Amelia, though relieved by the decision, felt the weight of the consequences in every fiber of her being. The pain of betrayal was still there, but there was a new layer of complexity, the need to move on. That night after the trial, Amelia was at home, sitting in her living room, still trying to process everything that had happened. Claire was by her side, as always, offering silent support. Amelia's phone rang, and seeing the number, her heart raced. It was Michael's mother. "Amelia, I need to talk to you," said the voice on the other end, full of anguish. "Please, can we meet?" Amelia hesitated but agreed. She knew that conversation would be difficult, but it was also necessary. They arranged to meet in a discreet cafe the next morning. When she arrived, Amelia found Michael's mother already seated, with a look of fatigue and sadness that mirrored her own. They sat in silence for a moment, the words seeming inadequate in the face of so much pain. "Amelia," Michael's mother began, her eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry for everything that happened. I never imagined Michael could do something like this. You didn't deserve this." The words brought a wave of emotion to Amelia. "I never imagined it either," she replied, her voice choked with emotion. "He destroyed me in so many ways, but I needed justice." Michael's mother nodded, understanding. "I know, and I don't defend him. What he did was terrible, but he's still my son. I just don't know what to do now." Amelia felt a pang of compassion. That woman's pain was familiar. "I understand. You're suffering too. And in a way, I'm sorry for that." The conversation continued, both sharing memories and tears. It was a moment of healing, a bridge between two women destroyed by the same betrayal. When they said goodbye, there was a silent understanding between them. The pain still existed, but there was also a space for forgiveness and acceptance. The next day, while Amelia was preparing to face Michael's sentencing, she received an unexpected visit. It was Michael's assistant, the woman who had destroyed her marriage. Her presence at the door made Amelia's blood boil, but she kept her calm. "Amelia, I know I'm the last person you want to see," the assistant began, her voice trembling. "But I needed to talk to you." Amelia crossed her arms, trying to control her anger. "What do you want?" I didn't know what I was getting into," she said, tears filling her eyes. "Michael lied to me too. And now I'm pregnant and alone. He promised me the world, and now I'm lost." Amelia felt a wave of conflicting emotions. The anger and pain were still there, but there was also a shadow of compassion. "You knew he was married. You knew he was lying to me." "I know," the assistant replied, sobbing, "and I'm paying for it. But I didn't come here to ask for your help. I just wanted you to know that I regret it, that I was also deceived." Amelia looked at her, seeing not just the woman who had destroyed her marriage but also a victim of Michael's lies. "I don't know what to say," she finally said. but I hope you find a way to move on, and that you never destroy another person's life again." The assistant nodded, wiping her tears. "Thank you, Amelia. I truly am sorry." After she left, Amelia sat down, feeling strangely relieved. The truth had been told, and now all that remained was to face the future. In court, the tension was palpable as everyone awaited the sentence. Michael was pale and defeated, a shadow of the confident man he once was. When the judge read the sentence, the room seemed to hold its breath. "Michael Johnson, this court sentences you to 10 years in prison for the charges of fraud, money laundering, and marital betrayal. Additionally, all your accounts will be seized and redistributed to the affected parties." Amelia felt a wave of relief and sadness. Justice had been served, but the pain of betrayal was still there. As Michael was led away, he looked at her, his eyes filled with a new sadness and regret. "I'm sorry, Amelia," he murmured before disappearing. She stood there, silent, as the room emptied. Claire and James approached, offering support. Amelia knew the journey wasn't over, but she had taken an important step. "Let's go home," Claire said softly, putting an arm around her. The days following the sentence were a mix of relief and emptiness for Amelia. The legal battle was over, but the emotional scars were far from healed. Every morning upon waking, she felt the weight of everything she had lost and the long road ahead. One afternoon, while organizing some old documents, Amelia found a wedding photo album. She flipped through the pages, reliving the happy moments that now seemed to belong to another life. Each captured smile, each look of love between her and Michael now carried a deep pain. Silent tears fell on the pages as she allowed herself to feel the sadness. Claire arrived soon after, finding Amelia sitting on the floor, surrounded by the memories of a love that was now just a shadow. "Amelia," she said softly, kneeling beside her friend, "you need a break." Amelia nodded, wiping her tears. "I know. It's just hard to leave it all behind." "Let's take a walk," Claire suggested. "You need some fresh air." Walking through the park brought some peace to Amelia. The sound of birds, the gentle wind in the trees, all seemed to remind her that life went on. Claire, always present, walked beside her in silence, offering just her presence. "I was thinking," Amelia finally said, "maybe it's time to do something for myself. Something I've always wanted but never had the courage to do." Claire smiled, encouraging. "Like what?" "Maybe open my own law firm," Amelia replied, her voice gaining strength with the idea. "A place where I can help people who've gone through situations like mine." Claire squeezed her hand. "That would be amazing, Amelia, and I know you can do it. You're strong and brilliant." The idea of creating something new brought a spark of hope to Amelia's heart. In the following days, she started planning, researching, and dreaming. Every step she took toward her new goal was a small victory against the pain she still carried. However, life wasn't ready to let her move on so easily. One morning, she received a notification that Michael had appealed the sentence, claiming the trial had been unfair. Amelia felt a tightness in her chest. The battle was far from over. Gathering her strength, she returned to court with Claire and James by her side. The legal confrontation resumed, and each of Michael's arguments felt like a desperate attempt to avoid the consequences of his actions. Amelia, with the help of her lawyer, presented the evidence again, detailing every betrayal and financial crime. The courtroom was tense, every word loaded with emotion and significance. When she was called to testify again, Amelia felt the same pain from the first trial, but this time there was a stronger determination in her heart. "I loved Michael," she said, her voice firm. "I trusted him with my life, my dreams, my future. He broke that trust in ways I never imagined possible. All I ask for is justice." Michael tried to defend himself, but the evidence was clear. When the judge gave the final word, confirming the original sentence, Amelia felt a wave of relief. Justice had been reaffirmed, and Michael would finally face the full consequences of his actions. Leaving the courtroom, Amelia looked at the sky, taking a deep breath. The legal battle was truly over, and she could start focusing on her future without the ghosts of the past haunting her every step. Claire hugged her tightly. "You did it, Amelia. Now it's really time to move on. Amelia smiled, a smile full of sadness but also of hope. Yes, it's time to move on. And I know I can do it. In the months that followed, Amelia dedicated herself to opening her law firm. It was a long and challenging process, but every obstacle overcome was a testament to her resilience. Claire and James were by her side every step of the way, offering support and encouragement. The day of the firm's opening arrived, and Amelia looked at the sign at the entrance with her name. She felt a wave of emotion. This was a new beginning, a symbol of her strength and determination. She knew there would still be hard days, but she also knew she was ready to face any challenge. As she cut the opening ribbon surrounded by friends and colleagues, Amelia felt an inner peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. The pain of betrayal was still there, but now it was a part of her story, not the center of it. She was ready to help others find justice, just as she had found hers. Amelia felt a mixture of pride and relief as she entered her new office. The space was bright and welcoming, with elegant furniture and shelves filled with law books. The name Amelia Johnson Law Firm, emblazoned on the door, was a symbol of everything she had achieved. Every detail of the office represented her resilience and determination. However, the tranquility of the new beginning was interrupted when Amelia received an urgent call from the court. Michael, in a final desperate act, was appealing again, this time claiming new evidence. Amelia felt her stomach churn. She thought everything had ended, but Michael's shadow still loomed over her life. Gathering her strength, Amelia prepared to face another legal battle. Claire and James were by her side, offering unconditional support. In court, the tension was palpable. Michael, visibly worn down, was present with his new lawyer, who seemed determined to overturn the sentence. "We are here to present new evidence that we believe will change the course of this case," Michael's lawyer began, handing documents to the judge. Amelia looked at the papers with a sense of déjà vu. Each new argument from Michael felt like an attack on her sanity. She felt the pain and anger boiling inside her but knew she needed to remain calm and clear-headed. "These so-called new evidence are just more lies and manipulations," Amelia said, her voice firm. "All of this has already been proven and refuted. What Michael is trying to do is avoid justice once again." The judge reviewed the documents and called the lawyers for a discussion. The wait was agonizing. Amelia felt every second pass like an eternity. Finally, the judge returned to the courtroom. "After thorough review," he began, "this court upholds the original sentence. The new evidence presented is not sufficient to alter the verdict." Michael collapsed in his chair, the defeat evident on his face. Amelia felt a wave of relief mixed with deep sadness. The battle was finally over, but the emotional toll had been high. Leaving the courtroom, Claire and James were there to hug her. "You were incredible," Claire said, her eyes shining with pride. "Thank you," Amelia replied, her voice trembling. "I just want this to be over once and for all." In the following days, Amelia focused on her work, helping clients facing their own legal challenges. Each case was a reminder of what she had gone through, but also an opportunity to use her experience to help others. One night, while reviewing documents in her office, Amelia received an unexpected visit. It was Michael's assistant, now visibly pregnant. Amelia felt her heart tighten at the sight of her. "Amelia, I know I don't have the right to ask for anything," the assistant began, her voice trembling. "But I'm desperate. Michael is in prison and I'm alone. I don't know what to do." Amelia looked at her, seeing the vulnerability and fear in her eyes. She felt a mixture of anger and compassion. "You made your choices," she said calmly, "but no one deserves to go through this alone." The assistant started to cry. "I'm so sorry for everything. If I could go back, I would do everything differently." Amelia took a deep breath, fighting against the pain she still felt. "I can help you find resources and support, but you need to take responsibility for what you did." The assistant nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, Amelia. This means more than you can imagine." In the days that followed, Amelia helped the assistant find a place to live and connected her with support services. Although the pain of betrayal was still there, Helping someone in need brought a sense of relief to her heart. As time passed, Amelia continued to rebuild her life. Her law firm prospered, and she found satisfaction in every legal victory and every client helped. The pain of betrayal would never completely disappear, but she was learning to live with it, to grow and move forward. Amelia was in her office immersed in work when she received a call that made her pause. It was from a public prosecutor. "Amelia, there's something you need to know about Michael's case," he said, his voice serious. "What is it about?" Amelia asked, feeling a familiar tension settle in her chest. "We discovered new evidence that Michael was involved in a much larger scheme than we initially thought. This could complicate his situation even further and affect your case." Amelia felt a chill run down her spine. Even after everything she had gone through, it seemed Michael's shadow would never completely disappear. "I understand. What do you need from me?" "We need you to testify again to clarify some points and help close this case once and for all." Amelia agreed, knowing this would be one last battle she needed to face. In the days that followed, she prepared with the same focus and determination she had shown throughout the process. When the day of the new testimony arrived, Amelia entered the courtroom with a mix of anxiety and renewed strength. The prosecutor presented the new evidence, detailing a scheme of corruption and money laundering that involved several other people besides Michael. Amelia was called to testify, and once again she told her story. Every word carried the weight of her pain and the firmness of her quest for justice. She explained how she had discovered the betrayals, how she had fought to bring the truth to light, and how that battle had transformed her. As she spoke, she observed Michael on the other side of the room. He was dejected, his shoulders slumped, his gaze empty. He was no longer the man she had known, but a reflection of the wrong choices he had made. When the judge finally announced that Michael would be sentenced to an additional penalty for the new crimes, Amelia felt a wave of relief and sadness. Justice had been served, but the pain was still there, a constant companion. Leaving the courtroom, Claire and James were there, ready to hug her. "You were incredible, Amelia," James said, his eyes shining with pride. "Yes, you were," Claire agreed. "Now it's really time to leave all this behind." Amelia smiled, feeling a peace she hadn't felt in a long time. "You're right. It's time to move forward." In the months that followed, Amelia dedicated herself even more to her law firm. Every case she took on was a new opportunity to make a difference in people's lives. She helped victims of betrayal, wronged individuals, and those who, like her, needed a chance to start over. One day, she received an envelope in the mail. Upon opening it, she found a letter from Michael. Hesitant, she began to read. "Amelia, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I need to say a few things. I'm in prison, paying for everything I did, and every day I think about the wrong choices I made. Nothing I say can erase the pain I cause, but I want you to know that I deeply regret it. You were always the best part of my life, and I destroyed that. I hope one day you can find the peace and happiness you deserve. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make amends for my mistakes. Michael." Amelia felt tears stream down her face. The letter brought a mix of feelings, sadness, anger, but also a strange sense of closure. She put the letter away in a drawer, knowing that, although the pain would never completely disappear, she was finally in a place where she could move on. A few weeks later, while walking in the park reflecting on her journey, she came across a group of children playing. Watching them brought a smile to her face and a sense of hope. Life went on, and so did she. Amelia met Claire at a cafe, the place where so many difficult conversations and important decisions had been made. "I received a letter from Michael," she said as they drank their coffee. "And how do you feel?" Claire asked, always attentive to her friend's emotions. "I'm not sure," Amelia replied. "It still hurts, but I think I'm finally ready to leave it behind. I'm ready to live my life." Claire smiled, holding Amelia's hand. "You deserve all the happiness in the world, and I'll be by your side every step of the way." Months had passed since Michael's letter, and Amelia's life was beginning to find a new balance. Her law firm was thriving, she was helping clients who needed justice, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a genuine peace. One afternoon, while organizing some files in her office, she received an unexpected call from the local hospital. "Amelia Johnson?" asked the voice on the other end. "This is Dr. Collins from General Hospital. You've been listed as the emergency contact for Michael's assistant. She's about to give birth and has no one else with her. Could you come?" Amelia felt a mix of surprise and empathy. Without hesitation, she grabbed her things and headed to the hospital. When she arrived, she found the assistant, Lisa, in a bed, sweating and crying out in pain and fear. Amelia approached, holding her hand. "I'm here, Lisa," Amelia said softly. "You're not alone." Lisa looked at Amelia with eyes full of gratitude. "Thank you. I thought no one would come." The following hours were intense. Amelia stayed by Lisa's side throughout the labor, holding her hand, offering words of encouragement. When the baby was born, a healthy boy, a wave of emotion filled the room. Amelia looked at the baby, feeling a mix of joy and sadness. Life was full of ironies, and there she was, helping to bring into the world the child of the man who had destroyed her marriage. But looking at that little human being, she felt a rebirth within herself. Lisa, exhausted but radiant, smiled at Amelia. "Thank you for being here. I couldn't have done it without you." Amelia held the baby, looking into his curious little eyes. "He's beautiful," she said, tears in her eyes. In the days that followed, Amelia helped Lisa get settled with the baby, offering support and guidance. A new friendship began to form between the two women, united by a painful past but also by a future full of hope. As time passed, Amelia opened herself to new possibilities. She met new people, made new friends, and started engaging in activities she had always wanted to try but never had the opportunity. Life, with all its complexities and challenges, was beginning to feel full of promise again. One day, while walking in the park, she saw a man sitting on a bench, reading a book. He seemed absorbed in his reading, but something about him caught Amelia's attention. She passed by him several times before gathering the courage to speak. "That's one of my favorite books," she said, pointing to the cover. The man looked up, surprised, but with a warm smile. "It really is an incredible book," he replied, closing the book and standing up. "I'm Daniel. And you are?" "Amelia," she said, feeling an immediate connection. The park meetings became frequent. Daniel was kind, intelligent, and understanding. He listened to Amelia's story with an empathy that deeply touched her. Their friendship blossomed, bringing a new light to Amelia's life. One day, while walking in the park, Daniel stopped and looked into Amelia's eyes. "Have you ever thought about starting over?" he asked, his voice full of tenderness. Amelia smiled, feeling her heart race. "I think so. I think I'm ready." The relationship between Amelia and Daniel developed slowly but surely. Each day brought new moments of happiness and connection, and Amelia began to believe in love again. Reflecting on her journey, Amelia realized how much she had grown. The pain of betrayal was still there, but now it was just a part of her story, not the entirety. She had found strength within herself that she never knew she had, and that strength was guiding her towards a future full of possibilities. At the end of a workday, while closing her office, Amelia looked out the window and saw Daniel waiting for her outside. She felt a wave of gratitude and love. She stepped out, meeting him with a smile. "Ready for dinner?" he asked, offering his arm. "More than ready," she replied, linking her arm with his. As they walked together, Amelia felt a deep peace. Life had taken many twists and turns, but now, finally, she was in a place where she could be truly happy. She had found justice, reconciliation, and most importantly, she had found herself.